Just before I start, I want you all to know that when you go to a women's club meeting, you dress. Years ago, my grandmother told me, you wear stockings, you don't go bare-legged, you wear your pearls, your hat, you bring your gloves and a pretty hanky. So just so you're all ready. This has really been a very interesting trip for me to be working on this for the last while. I have to admit, I opened up this case and there were 13 books of minutes that I would go through, all written by hand, some in pen, some in pencil, some in great big scrolly letters, some in little tiny letters. I gave a couple to Becky. She went through and I said, just flag things that look important if you can read them. So anyway, we did have a good time putting it together. First of all, a little bit of history about Bailey's Harbor leading up to the emerging of the Ladies Club. Bailey's Harbor enjoyed the distinction of being the first place in Door County that was selected as a village site. Not only this, but it was officially selected as the first county seat several years before Door County the Door County organization really was effective. This was accomplished by pointing out that the site had the best harbor, not only in Door County, but anywhere along the west shore of Lake Michigan. If you think about it, it really is one of the only large indentations in the side of the lake. And that kind of made it that it was going to be of great importance as we went along. Unfortunately, the county seat changed to Sturgeon Bay in 1857. Mr. Allison Sweet was the first shipping pier that was built here in Door County, after Captain Bailey found this great harbor. Mr. Sweet was doing an enterprising business in the forwarding and commission business and owned about a dozen large ships. These ships plied between Milwaukee and Buffalo. On the way down, they were always large cargoes of grain to be carried, but on the way back, there wasn't much to pick up. So Captain Bailey's discovery of Bailey's Harbor with its rich stone deposits and virgin timber offered a chance to augment that profits by adding freight here. In 1853, Mr. S.B. Ward bought a small stock of provisions and notions to Bailey's Harbor, opened a small store in the firm conviction that Bailey's Harbor would soon become the business capital of the county. He was the first shopkeeper on the peninsula. Miles Kilgore arrived in 1860. He built the first permanent pier in the village in 1861. By it made an outlet for the vast forest products that for the 40 years made Bailey's Harbor the chief supporting point for cordwood, ties, and cedar posts in the country. In 1865, William R. Higgins and his son, Allen, built a pier a mile south of Bailey's Harbor, which for many years did a big business. Major J.W. Lowell followed with a sawmill, and a hotel was also built. For many years, Higgins Pier, or Frogtown, as it was called, and one of the most peaceful spots in the country, was a very busy trading port. Oops. I get too many pages here that are empty. A road was cut across the peninsula from the harbor to the Green Bay shore about opposite of where Hat Island is, just south of Fish Creek. This was the first road that actually crossed Door County and made moving stone and wood to the Lake Michigan shore much easier. As the town population grew and new businesses flourished, Bailey's Harbor grew. In 1913, Bailey's Harbor was a bustling town. There were 3 freight docks bringing goods in and carrying wood, rock, and grain out, and the fishing industry was blooming. Establishments in town included a mercantile, a hardware, lodging for workers, a dance hall, several saloons, a post office, boarding house, and churches. And the onset of the tourist industry was just beginning with the new Evergreen Motel built on Kangaroo Lake in 1913. In researching the history of Bailey's Harbor Women's Club, I found that there have been many different organizations that blended together over the last 150 years to promote civic activities and pride in our town. I thought it was important to know how all of these groups evolved and brought the citizens of the community together. Apparently, the ladies of Bailey's Harbor had been having discussions of things that needed attention around town and decided it was time to organize. On February 13th, 1913, a group of 15 women gathered at the Eutaw home to establish the women's organization in Bailey's Harbor. They adopted their constitution and bylaws on May 4th of that year, and the club was known as the Ladies Improvement Club. The roll call list showed 28 dues-paying members. Meetings were held monthly at 3 o'clock in the afternoon every second Thursday, and monthly dues were 25 cents. They were paid at every meeting. A lunch of sandwiches, cheese, pickles, coffee, and 2 kinds of cake would be served at meetings. This was later changed to lunch of salad or a hot dish or sandwich, coffee, and cake. I'm glad to see the desserts were not excluded. Meetings were held in members' homes, and small children were welcome to come with their mothers for an additional 5 cents. Usually the ladies of whose home it was in had a co-host that would help with things, and there was always someone with interesting things for the meeting. On the very first project of the 1913, the very first project of the ladies was to keep the grass cut and improve the cemetery. Prior to this time, it appears the property had been very neglected, and the ladies felt it was not a good thing for the community families. Mr. Apple was hired in June to work in the cemetery. Mr. Apple was paid $2 a day for his work. A tub and wheelbarrow were purchased for him, and apparently he had to bring all his other tools. Notes of $4 payments for him appear twice monthly in the Summer Treasures Report for several years. This project was likely how the club became known as the Cemetery Club. The major part of the project at the cemetery was to add a new fence with a gate and surrounding the whole cemetery. It seems Mr. Apple had indicated that the local livestock were wandering about the grassy area and leaving rather large deposits in the cemetery. In April of that year, the group accepted a bid of a whopping amount of $150 from Mr. Hansen for a gate, posts, and fencing. Mr. Hansen was also to get all the work donated, if possible, and to install the fence. They continued to oversee the maintenance of the cemetery for many years. Each meeting was to include lunch, followed by a presentation of a topic chosen by a committee of 3 ladies, not to exceed 15 minutes, and a business meeting. Plans were made for a card party and a social and visits to other local women's groups. One visit was to the club in Fish Creek. This took some planning to arrange enough carriages to get everyone over there. The ladies held their first bazaar in August of 1916 and had total proceeds of $147.27. They did include a rummage sale along with it. By 1918, the group had grown to 38 members. The club regularly bought bonds and sent money to the Red Cross. Donations were also made to the Bailey's Harbor School, and they still paid for the maintenance of the cemetery, and they did purchase a new lawnmower. In 1915, another community organization appeared. Initially, it was called the Bailey's Harbor Country Club and was made up of persons living in the country to the south of Bailey's Harbor in the Kangaroo Lake area. The group consisted of men and women, and they started out to promote the area for the growing tourism market. The name changed to the Bailey's Harbor Community Club in 1917. They produced one of the first local brochures highlighting the local attractions. And if you have a chance afterwards, there's copies of it on the end of the table over here. It was a pretty nice brochure. Other options included plays and socials in cooperation with the school as fundraisers. The 4th of July activities were also high on their list, and they regularly rode in the parade. And somehow the picture I have of them has vanished someplace on the presentation, I'm not sure where. April 1917, the group took on the project of building a bathhouse at the beach. Funds were to come from the Treasury, and Ernest Hansen, Andrew Brand, and Frank Oldenburg were appointed to oversee the project. In May of that year, the first discussion of streetlights for the town was approached. A sample light was ordered and elected at Art Wilson's garage. The club would pay for the gas to run it, but Art was responsible for the rest of the care. The light was later moved to Mrs. Blakefield's corner. I assume each area of the town would get their turn to have it in their area to see how the light worked. Minutes of the Bailey's Harbor Community Club stopped in April 1970, and only 2 meetings are recorded in 1924. The ladies of the Bailey's Harbor Improvement Club continued on, and the dissolution of the Country Club, many of the ladies joined the Improvement Club. At the June meeting of 1919, discussions were had about oiling the streets. Apparently, the dust was becoming a nuisance. It was determined to send out the request to the town board, and then a motion to contribute to the sidewalks did not pass. In 1920, the group was growing and held several meetings at the town hall. The town hall is the little white building, the first one that you see, coming down Bluff Road. Bluff Road looks a little different today than that. And actually, the post office is on the property that the town hall was on. Minutes indicate that the ladies purchased another lawnmower for the cemetery. In 1921, members purchased flags and other decorations. They gathered at the cemetery on Decoration Day to hang bunting and decorate the graves of fallen soldiers. This became an annual event. Care of the cemetery continued to be an ongoing project. A card party was held to benefit the Bailey's Harbor Baseball Club, and $15 was given to them. In 1922, trees were planted around the schoolhouse, and a committee appointed to keep them watered. Regular meetings continued with ladies hosting the club in their homes. The year's project was to construct a grandstand at the Ball Diamond. Cost of the project was $23.30, including lumber nails, and the donated labor. The town men constructed the bleachers. And as you can see, that ballpark is where the old bank or where the kayak rental service is now. A line in the treasurer's report indicated that $79.50 was paid for oil. Apparently, the ladies have taken the dusty streets onto their own hands. 1923 started off quietly, but things picked up. The group had grown to 36 members again. The cemetery was in the care of the group, and a new lawnmower was needed. The ladies arranged for a community picnic to be held in August. No mention of food, but the club purchased 2 gallons of ice cream. There you go. It was determined that the ladies that did not entertain the group at a meeting each year would pay $5 to the club. At the end of the year, the club had $182.13 in the bank and $24.60 on hand for expenses. Bailey's Harbor town signs for the 3 main roads into town were the big project for 1924. The road to the south, north, and the road across to Fish Creek. Mrs. Panther was the chairperson of the committee and reported that Mr. Oldenburg would make the signs for a cost of $25. Their next meeting at the town hall was delayed a bit because there was a dress form making project going on and they had to have the hall, so they had to wait. June reports indicated that mowing at the cemetery was now up to $15 per month, and the cost of the oil for the streets remained at $79. In 1926, a committee was again appointed to investigate oiling the streets. The ladies decided that a committee of Mrs. August Brand, Mrs. George Anderson, and Mrs. Minor Dagno would now approach the townspeople to contribute to the cost. A new committee was established to write a folder to promote Bailey's Harbor. The booklet was published by Land Lakes Organization. Mrs. Carl Pruder was appointed correspondent to the country paper, The Advocate, to report the news of the clubs. And the streetlight decision came to the Ladies Improvement Club in April of that year. After a lengthy discussion, they agreed to give $300 a year for 3 years to support the project and appointed Mrs. Butler, Mrs. Pruder, Mrs. Blakefield, and Mrs. Wasserbeck to serve on the light committee. The lights were ordered after some issues were resolved when the power company would not accept the woman's signature on the order. Apparently, a co-signer was needed from a man in authority. It was suggested that a telephone directory was needed for Bailey's Harbor, and the ladies agreed to coordinate the project. Advertising was secured, and they covered the cost of $430 of producing the phone book. A great community celebration sponsored by the Ladies Improvement Club was held in February called the Hard Times Party. The ladies again oversaw the printing of 3,000 copies of the Bailey's Harbor brochure. I'm not sure where they were going, but they must have used a lot of them. They also had postcards printed from cuts used on the brochures. The telephone directory was also reprinted yearly, and the annual care of the cemetery and oiling the roads continued. The spirit of entertainment entered 1928 when Mr. Blakefield came to ask the ladies if they would sponsor a play and help him put it on. The 35 members accepted his offer. The club appointed several groups to raise money over the years. One group did a movie at Scrams Hall. Another sponsored a rummage sale. Another a card party. Another sponsored an advancement day dinner. And another sponsored an evening social with a dance. By 1929, the group had risen to 36 members. They continued the care of the cemetery, the streets, the road oiling. However, the town now gave them $100 towards that expense. Twice monthly meetings were held as usual, one business meeting and one social meeting. A demonstration on hat making was very popular. The 1930 activities started the year with setting a date for a dance to support the new Paint Up Cleanup Week. The dance raised $76. Members were asked to submit suggestions for work that needed to be done. Projects around town included a new town sign, a rock garden at the entrance to town, rubbish collection, a donation to the bathing beach were all items addressed. The Paint Up Cleanup Week continued as an annual project. A gift basket to needy families was begun this year, and the tradition has continued on yearly. Meeting in 1931, the group was now a part of the National Federation of Women's Club. Meetings began with a rousing song and the reading of the National Women's Club Collect. The twice monthly meetings were changed to one business and one social meeting. Care of the cemetery continued, and the club gave the Gibraltar Band $10 to help them come and play for the 4th of July parade. In 1933, the ladies took up the cause of keeping the Coast Guard station by writing letters to the national officials. Unfortunately, wrote back and they said, I don't think we're going to do that. The club assisted with the first Children's Health Center on June 13th and requested the State Board of Health to come back again in October. Plans for the 4th of July included appointing a Miss Bailey's Harbor and reviving the kitchen band and joining the parade. The ladies were invited for lunch at Maxwell and Bray's in 1934 to celebrate their 20th anniversary. Mr. Blakefield reported that the Boy Scouts were doing well and thanked for their support. A new project to place 5 benches at the beach was approved, and Mr. Henry Cedar was to make them for $7.50 each. Signs on the entrance to town were replaced with "Welcome to Bailey's Harbor" signs. The child health clinic returned and the dental health program began, and continuing sponsor programs of the cemetery care, support of the baseball team, Paint Up Cleanup Week, holiday baskets continued. 1944 had a donation of $200 towards a new fire engine, and a town Halloween party on November 5th began with a supper at 7 o'clock. Obviously, this was not a children's party. A new committee was appointed in 1936 to look after the beach. They reported in May that the beach needed repairs and cleaning. A beach potluck was held on a Friday to the folks working, and all was taken care of. The Ladies Improvement Club purchased the required materials and also secured chemical toilets for the bathhouse. A benefit dance for the beach committee was held in July, and a payment of $5 a week was approved for a beach care person. During 1937, both the Ladies Improvement Club and the Women's Club have minutes recording in the same book. The same ladies appeared at both organizations. The March meeting program was an educational program for the campaign on the fight against cancer. A program sponsored by the National Federation of Women's Clubs. I think you got to clip a couple more, Allie. There it is. The club made a donation of $25 to the Women's Field Army Against Cancer. A discussion in May included the county's proposed game reserve in Bailey's Harbor. The club wrote to the county park asking them that the name be retained as the Bailey's Harbor Park. Mr. Fuller thanked the club for their efforts to preserve the ridges as a wildflower refuge in the town. A float for the Women's Club will be entered in the 4th of July parade. A card party and selling of metal sponges was approved as a money-making progress this year. Metal sponges are what we kind of call a chore girl now. Apparently, they were quite popular to be selling at that point. A donation to the town and the Women's Club was announced in 1937 that presented a focus for the ladies for the next years. Michael W. McCardle, a Bailey's Harbor native son and president of Sunbeam Corporation, passed away in 1937. His will had many donations to his hometown. The will included guidelines and financial provisions for a new town hall and library for Bailey's Harbor. An amount was also stipulated for the Ladies Improvement Society of the town of Bailey's Harbor and to the Men's Club of the town of Bailey's Harbor. His will directed that monies to be used for the construction of the town hall and the library. The only stipulation was that the building be completed within 5 years of his death. The town hall and library were completed and dedicated August 21st, 1938. As the town hall building was underway, the Ladies Improvement Society began helping with plans for the dedication, as well as ways to use the monies from the McCardle gift. In April, the purchase of dishes, silverware, and glassware for the new town hall was approved. Additionally, 6 long tables and 24 chairs were purchased for the dining room. Mrs. Parent and Mrs. Betcher were appointed to buy the necessary utensils still needed for the kitchen. The ladies also ordered a portrait of Mr. McCardle to be hung in the hall with a brass plate noting his donation, and it's hanging right behind me. It was determined that a supper of ham, potato salad, baked beans, rolls, cake, and coffee would be served. Letters were sent to dignitaries and friends of Mr. McCardle's, inviting them to the dedication ceremonies by Mrs. Traven, who was the club's secretary. I think you can click in and find the dedication program, Allie. There you go. The program was compiled into musical pieces, an invocation, speeches of presentation and acceptance, community singing, and a benediction. The dedication ceremony was held on Saturday, August 21st. The hall was filled to overflowing with the townspeople and guests from every Door County community. The Ladies Improvement Society served over 100 meals following the program. In 1938, the club created a position of historian to keep a club scrapbook of club activities. Reference to it have been a great resource for preparing this program. A letter from Mr. George Lieber was received asking the club's support in raising funds for the Ridges Project. The challenge was accepted, and Mrs. Heald was made chairman of the committee. A health trailer will be in Bailey's Harbor, sponsored by the club. A benefit concert for the band was held and yielded $28. The club also joined the Door County Chamber of Commerce. Letters have been sent out to all resorts and summer people asking for their support in maintaining the beach. The beach committee was given permission to hire a lifeguard not to exceed the monthly expense of $40, plus whatever is received from the contributions. The newly formed Young Women's Auxiliary was invited to our next meeting. Shortly after that, the group was disbanded, and most of those women joined our women's club. Early in 1940, had a report from the Ridges on accomplishments for the last year and their membership. The club would hold a dinner for the Ridges in July. A motion was presented to officially change the name of the Ladies Improvement Club to the Bailey's Harbor Women's Club, and was put to a vote and passed unanimously. The Women's Club received a letter from the 8th District Women's Club president requesting that Bailey's Harbor hold the district convention on June 4th and 5th. The ladies accepted the challenge. 202 registered guests began arriving in the afternoon of the 4th of June. A board meeting was held that night at the town hall, and dinner was served at the Panther Hotel at 7. Mr. Cornell showed movies of Door County scenery and the working of the Martin cherry orchard and apple orchards. At 9 o'clock the next morning, the convention proper met at the town hall. A noon dinner was served, and at 4 o'clock, tea was served. They had to travel to Maxwell and Brace for that. That was the end of the convention. Townspeople offered rooms for the guests. The Gibraltar Band provided music. Reynolds Preserving Company gave 4 cases of apples. The Fruit Growers Cooperative gave 3 cases of cherries and recipe booklets. Prangies gave notepads for everyone. And the Bailey's Harbor Chamber of Commerce office was very helpful. This was quite a major undertaking for the ladies and a great event for Bailey's Harbor. With the approach of Christmas, the ladies sent personalized Christmas cards to all the local boys in the service. Early in 1942, the ladies sponsored a card party to benefit the Red Cross and the Bomber Fund. $33 went to the Red Cross and $70 went to the Bomber Fund. The club continued to buy bonds through 1943 and make a donation of $100 to the fund for the new hospital. They rolled bandages, hemmed bedpan covers, and made pajama tops for the Red Cross. In 1944, there were 24 active members. The year's big project was purchasing and planting 25 elm trees around the town hall. In 1945, the club was active in establishing a recreation at the town hall for the young people and had a card party to raise funds to sponsor activities. The long talked about ice skating rink at Brand Park was opened. Heading up the fundraising in Bailey's Harbor, the new hospital came as high on the list for 1946. Reports were that they were very successful. A project to publish a cookbook was undertaken. They still continued their donations to the Red Cross, Scouts, the beach, and the kitchen in the new town hall. It was decided to again make the beach a major project in 1947. The county will be installing toilets at the bathing beach. I'm assuming at that point they weren't flushers. And they agreed to do some other work that was needed. Mrs. Lewis Hickey was appointed as custodian at the beach for the summer. Containers for contributions to the project were were placed around town for anyone to make contributions. The ladies continued the support of the library, the Boy Scouts, the Red Cross, the Ridges Sanctuary, the community chest Christmas boxes for needy families, and a 1949 February Sunday afternoon card party was held. March featured a St. Patrick's Day square dance. Why not? At the town hall. April was highlighted with a second Bailey's Harbor talent show. The ladies were present in the 4th of July parade. A Red Cross swimming instructor was hired for Mondays afternoons at the park, at the beach. They also built a small pier for her to stand on so she could teach the children. I hope that year the water was a little warmer than it is this year in June. 1950s kept the club busy with many sponsored activities. The hobby show at the town hall was repeated. 123 exhibitors displayed their crafts in a variety of interests. Prizes were awarded to the school children exhibiting, and show awards were given to the other participants. I think you can clicker. Exhibitors could sell their items, but were asked to donate 10 cents to the Women's Club for everything that they sold. The young people were using the town hall for activities, and the Men's Club purchased pads at each end of the hall and guards for the lights. Basketball was quite a popular activity. The ladies participated in the 1950 July 4th parade. The long-anticipated cookbook project was completed, and cookbooks were available for sale. These first cookbooks were selling for $1.25 in local stores and businesses, allowing the business to keep 25 cents for their help in selling them. Mrs. Traven and Mrs. George took office in the County Women's Club organization. 12 atomic bomb instruction books were purchased for the community. This was a big concern at this time. The ladies began many years of helping with the immunization days, the beach, bathhouse, swimming instructor, skating rink and skate exchange, Halloween party, Red Cross, the Indian welfare, and care of the town kitchen continued. Packages for the servicemen were sent, and very nice thank yous were received. I think you got a click there. The hospital project this year was to make sock dolls for children admitted to the hospital. A new nurses scholarship fund was established in 1953 by the Door County Federation of Women's Club, and a request for donations of $10 was made for the fund. A March style show was held, and the proceeds of $60 was donated to the Gibraltar PTA. A January 29th, 1954 letter from the Lions Club of Bailey's Harbor arrived, stating a proposal to purchase shore property owned by the Bailey's Harbor Yacht Club. The Lions approved the project and pledged $750 and asked that the Women's Club and the Men's Club each pledge $625 to retire the $2,000 debt. The offer would only become binding if the town of Bailey's Harbor would become the owner of the property. The Women's Club pledged their $600 toward the town purchasing of the Yacht Club property. In November of 1954, they paid that amount off, and the Yacht Club property became known as the Anclam Park. Back in the town hall for 1955, the club sponsored a variety show, and the Gibraltar High School netted $72.80 for the PTA. A May style show was held, sponsored by Naws of Green Bay. Naws has been long gone since the 1960s. Proceeds were given to the high school to purchase loudspeaker equipment. The 4th of July included a float from the Women's Club. A first for them. A community fair was held in August with help from the Lions Club, Men's Club, and the Luther League, earning $91.05. To encourage decorations for the holidays, $15 in prize money was offered and given to the best outdoor Christmas displays. The ladies agreed to help with a 1940s 4th of July celebration as they proposed by the Community Council. In October, the United Fund was launched to replace all the separate charity drives and the club gave their usual charity amount to them. A budget of $150 for the new park behind the town hall was established. 2 picnic tables would be purchased, and trees were donated by the Walter Fishers for the park. In 1962, a mother and daughter tea for graduates of Gibraltar High School was had, and a new cookbook will be printed. A Western barbecue was held in conjunction with the men's club at the Florida, and proceeds to benefit the new hospital. The cost of a bassinet was approved to add to the hospital fund from the Women's Club. Christmas gift boxes were again sent to the Sparta Children's Home. In 1963, dues were raised to 75 cents. The additional amount was to be used for the County Nurse Scholarship Fund. A Bailey's Harbor student was picked that year for a scholarship. Christmas gifts will be given to the Door County Home this year instead of the Sparta Home. 1960 continued with support of many of the projects. The landscaping at the new park was completed. Gifts to Bailey's Harbor graduates were given. A new Girl Scout troop was supported, and the usual support of the United Way continued. Gifts for 4 servicemen were sent overseas, and cash gifts to 10 boys that were still statesides. A pizza party was held for the 8th grade graduating class, and the spring resale shop raised $281. Renovation of the property at Anclam Park that is owned by the Women's Club, Lions Club, Men's Club is underway. Most importantly, a new 4th of July hot dog and strawberry shortcake stand was part of the celebration. The stand brought in $97.29. In 1969, 5,000 copies of the Bailey's Harbor maps were printed, showing points of interest, business locations, parks, and other interesting things around town. 3 new benches were ordered for the beach. Cards were given and sent to the Vietnam Mail Call to be distributed to the servicemen. And gift boxes for soldiers will be sent at Easter rather than at Christmas time, because they felt they probably didn't get many things for Easter, but people always contributed at Christmas time. The ladies then discussed the bells of St. Mary's. Apparently there was some problem with enough people to ring them, and they said they might volunteer to come in if needed and ring the bells. A walker was purchased for the loan closet in Sturgeon Bay. 4 benches were given to the town to be placed any place in town they decided. A motion passed that the club will donate a book to the library for all deceased members. That is still done today. The local people running the offices were invited to introduce them, running for office were invited to introduce themselves and do a short speech to the next meeting. The ladies will contribute to the new installation of the new tennis courts. $160 would be donated towards bleachers at the new ballpark out in Summit Road. Catherine Collins will head the committee for the 4th of July float. $25 was given to support the Little League, and the club will host the February birthday party at the Scan Extended Care Facility. This will make an annual event. Today they host the residents in December. The new fencing for the tennis courts at an estimated of $3,594 was approved and would be completed in May. The club made donating to the Ridges, the ambulance service, and the scout troops. Summer residents were invited to tea and encourage their membership. A float in the 4th of July parade was headed the Spirit of 76 theme. In the early 1960s, the club donated $1,000 to help with the moving the library from the town hall to the schoolhouse building. The Sunshine Committee was established to give get well cards and other notes to members and families as they needed. A card party was held for the Dr. Farmer Medical Center with a profit of $151. A pager was purchased for the Bailey's Harbor Fire Department. $100 was donated to the Sheriff's Department for the canine unit. A dishwasher was purchased for the Sunshine House. The profit of the cookbooks had reached $6,764, and they are all gone. The club will sell hunky-dories, note paper, and cookbooks at the 4th of July stand. I had to look this one up on Google. Hunky-dory is an individually packaged, dry roasted peanuts, walnuts, sunflower seeds, almonds, pumpkin seeds, cashew nuts, and chocolate chips. And it seems to be a booming thing for them. A donation of $500 was given to the Ridges for the new endowment fund. 1,000 cookbooks are going to be reprinted. Now they are selling for $9.95. A July 4th, 1987 craft and good as new sale was held at the town hall, and strawberry shortcake was served. This began the women's annual Strawberry Shortcake Fest held on the 4th of July. $527 was realized. A $35 donation was given to the reading program at Gibraltar, and the tennis courts were going to be resurfaced. The sale of the hunky-dories continued at a brisk pace. An Easter egg hunt will be held at the town hall grounds on April the 2nd. 25 children attended, and 22 dozen foil-covered Easter eggs were hidden. The July 4th float celebrated 75 years of the Women's Club. The club members were asked to each supply 2 dozen baked baking powder biscuits for this year's 4th of July Strawberry Festival. 1900s continued to be busy for the Women's Club. A donation to the Bailey's Fire Department of $1,500 for equipment was made. 91 members were on the roll call. A pledge of $1,500 to the Ridges for repair on the lighthouses was approved. It was paid in $500 increments over 3 years. The town will take over the Anclam Park maintenance, and management of the kitchen was turned over to the town hall. The club received $5,000 from the Elsie Anclam estate to do improvements at the Anclam Park. Cookie bags of 6 were added to the Strawberry Festival for 75 cents. And $100 was given to the reestablished fireworks fund for the 4th of July. A Christmas family was sponsored yearly, and $50 was donated toward the 8th grade trip to the Washington, D.C. A new stove for this kitchen was donated by the Women's Club, and $500 was donated to the town for the purchase of a defibrillator. All of these donations were funded by activities sponsored by the ladies of the Bailey's Harbor Women's Club. In 2003, the club was advised that the Sister Bay Women's Club were withdrawing from the National Federation of Women's Club. After much discussion, our club decided to do the same. We were later notified that the county federation was being dissolved. Ed Zahn was hired to make $699 worth of tables, picnic tables for the Anclam Park. May baskets were delivered to the scan patients, and a donation to a needy family of food, clothing, toys, and sundry items was made. The first meeting in the 2000s was held in March, and it was the and it was decided that members of 50 years would receive a geranium on Mother's Day and a 50-year pin on their anniversary. $100 was given to the fireworks display. The ladies served coffee and baked goods for the lighthouse tours in May and shared receipts with the preservation group of $1,000 was given to the first responders. And the July Strawberry Festival continued to be very successful. In 2004, the first $500 scholarships were awarded. $100 was sent to Eltrusis for a speaking engagement. Non-perishable goods were brought for the Christmas program and rather than a gift exchange, and the sponsorship of a family of 4 was undertaken. The remainder of the 1990s were filled with the excuse me, with the strawberry festivals and donations to all the usual people, including a $1,500 pledge to the YMCA in Fish Creek. As you can see, there was no grass growing under these ladies' feet. In 2003, a $500 scholarship fund from the Bailey's Harbor Women's Club was established to replace the County Federation Scholarship. The scholarship will be available to a Bailey's Harbor resident senior graduating from Gibraltar High School, returning continuing education classes, or adults seeking a career change. $200 was donated to the fireworks, and a change in the Constitution to address the membership change and the new scholarship program was enacted. The first $500 Women's Club scholarships were awarded to 2 Bailey's Harbor Gibraltar graduates. Trade decorations for the County Medical Center were made. 11 applications were received for the scholarships in 2005, and one $500 scholarship was awarded. A profit from the year's festival of strawberries and cookies was $2,200. 20 dozen cookies were baked for the Halloween party and help offered for decorations. An hors d'oeuvre party for Scandia Village's open house was donated. Canned goods again were brought to the Christmas party and given to Feed My People, and a Christmas family was again sponsored. In 2006, a new table had been selected for the town marina and donated by the Women's Club. The second table was donated by the Community Association. The Strawberry Festival and Cookie Sale this year had a profit of $2,200. A fall picnic moved inside because the bees were too bad. One scholarship winner was awarded a scholarship of $500, and $300 was allocated for the Christmas shopping for a family. Member worksheets for the Strawberry Festival were divided into 2-hour increments and were circulated for the July Strawberry Fest and filled. 2 applicants for the scholarship were both awarded $500. Donations were made to the library for deceased member memorial books of $112. 3 scholarships were awarded in 2008, 2 of $1,500 and 1 of $500. Strawberry Shortcake Time again. Festival profits were $1,800. $1,000 was donated to the Parks Committee to be used for the renovations at Anclam Park, and $1,000 again donated to the Bailey's Harbor Fire Department first responders to be used to purchase an ATV. Members' books were distributed and a Christmas family was assigned. 9 scholarships applications were received for 2002. 2 students were awarded $750 scholarships by the Women's Club. $200 was donated to the fireworks. The Howling Party was held before the 4th of July at the town hall. Shortcakes were purchased to replace the homemade biscuits. All members are asked to bake cookies and put them in 1 dozen packages. Shortcakes will be sold for $4, each cookies for $4. The Bailey's Harbor Women's Club will be responsible for the December birthday party at SCAN and hospital tray favors at the extended care facility at the hospital. The Christmas family shoppers were given $400 for their family this year. In 2010, 2 $500 scholarships were rewarded. The Strawberry Festival continued to be very successful. Suggestions were offered to next year use brownies and shortcake for that year. They hosted the December birthday party. 30 small wooden birdhouses were decorated for favors for the hospital extended care. $300 was donated to the Ridges to fund their scholarship fund. Members also made soup bowls for the Peninsula Arts Center for their community soup sale. The community tree lights were sorted for Christmas, and 40 new cord organizers were added. $30 was donated for Halloween candy, and $300 approved for the Christmas shopping. In 2011, again, 2 $500 scholarships were awarded. They only received 2 applications. Strawberry hulling on July 1st with members, families, and friends helping. This is getting to be quite an event. Options of strawberry shortcakes or brownie bonanzas were offered this year for the festival. $500 was the price. Profits from the festival were $2,700. This year, pine cone tray favors were made for the patients at the hospital. 2 benches were donated to the town and will be placed out on Summit Road near the bocce ball and the horseshoe pits. $400 was allotted for the Christmas club shopping for their family. 2 scholarships of $600 were awarded in 2012. Hauling bees for strawberry will be held on the July 2nd. Proceeds that were $2,400. A total of $400 was given toward the mural at the town marina. Christmas shopping for a family continued. 2 students in 2013 received $750 scholarships. A brass plaque was placed in the Anclam Park acknowledging the donation of the annual flower garden by the Women's Club. The club nominated Mary Ann Johnson as Grand Marshal of the 4th of July Parade. She wasn't appointed. Strawberry hulling had a new record for this year. It was 1 hour. The fest profited $2,600. The Pulse did an article on the history of the Women's Club with Mary Ann Johnson. This was our 100th anniversary. Pumpkins were painted and decorated for the tray favors this year, and a basket passed at each meeting collected an additional $300 for our Christmas family, making a total of $700 available for gifts of our family of 7. 4 scholarships were awarded in 2014. Additional banners were made to direct people to the Strawberry Fest. Hulling again was done, and then the room was set up for the festival afterwards. Profits this year reached $2,500. Leftovers from the festival were brought to the Children's Center. Our contributions to scholarships for the Gibraltar graduates continued. 2 were given in 2015, and 4 were given in 2016. In 2018, one of the community Christmas trees at the Visit Center was decorated with strawberry lights, plastic strawberries, and ornaments that looked like fake shortcakes. 3 candidates applied for scholarships. One was awarded of $2,500, $2,000 from the Women's Club, and an additional donation from an anonymous donor of $500. The 4th of July committee gave the club an outside booth to sell cookies for the first time. The Strawberry Festival was huge again. This year we included Mardi Gras beads on the streets, selling them for a donation to the Women's Club Scholarship Fund. And we figured we made about $500 on them. New posters were done telling about our scholarships. The fall picnic was a success. We had a lunch at Time, Maxwell and Braze, and Heather Anderson gave us a tour, and we ended up by taking a picture at the same place as the 1934 Klupcher had. Installation of officers took place in September. We all had a great Christmas family that year. This brings us to the end of the year. The Women's Club has had a long history of donating to the town and many other charitable organizations. The long association with care of the cemetery was very much appreciated by town folks over the years. Their generosity in donating their time to financial and to other local organizations has been outstanding. Many students from graduating from Gibraltar High School benefited from the scholarships offered by the Door County Federation of Women's Club and by the Bailey's Harbor Women's Club. Since 2003, the club has passed out over $21,000 in scholarships for Bailey's Harbor students. I believe the first Bailey's Harbor ladies of 1913 would be happy to see that their legacy has been carried on for all these years. We would like to invite any ladies from the Bailey's Harbor area to consider joining our Women's Club. I'm happy to say that I'm a third-generation member of the club. You don't have to be a full-time resident or a resident at all. Our dues are nominal at $10, and our meetings are not long. We have several dining out meetings a year, and our fall picnic is a great time to thank our husbands and other friends and family for their help at the Strawberry Festival. We can always use help at the 4th of July Strawberry Festival, so please feel free to offer your time or cookie baking. Some of our officers are here this evening, and I would like to ask them to the stand if they would, so everybody knows who they are. Thank you to the Historical Society for the opportunity to present this narrative of the many years, to my husband for patience while I was preparing it, and to Allie for being my side clicker, and to all of you for coming this evening. Thank you.